What's up, guys? Back with chapter 10, titled No Time for Acrophobia. So, anybody who has a fear of heights like me probably wouldn't get involved in something like this. So, I hope that you guys enjoy as we continue. Startling the white line painted across the hangar's floor, I waited for Coco to begin our training. There were 2 private jets and a Beechcraft King Air 350ER out on the runway. The largeness of the building made it feel like we were on a military base. Trent and Tiffany were standing in awe just as Sky and I were staring at the aircraft. The sound of a door echoing shut caught our attention. Good morning, everyone. Hope we've all had a good night's sleep. Today's lesson is all about, one of the most daring yet exciting sports most enthusiasts conquer in their lifetime. It takes patience and the willingness to learn, and the finesse of adequate attention to detail. There is no room for error when encountering this sport. In time, practice and training will perfect your techniques. Safety is the #1 factor, for if it is not carefully acknowledged, fatality will prevail. I will teach you your proper survival skills in the worst case scenario were to ever occur, leaving you distressed and deserted. Can anyone tell me what sport I'm referring to? Skydiving. Sky almost answered in a whisper. Coco's eyes shifted towards her. Yes, excellent. Sky, would you mind being my assistant for today's lesson? He motioned for her to come join him. Absolutely. Let's do this thing. I felt my cheeks rise into a jubilant smile watching Sky walk elated up to Coco. I had no idea Sky was such a thrill seeker, but I loved it. We had a 4-hour training session that covered everything there was to know about skydiving, from the terminology to physically learning how to pack a parachute. Now, the chutes you all have just packed will be the ones that you're going to use to jump. Trenton's face went pale. Wait, how do we even know that we did this properly, sir? Pardon my vagueness, but I've never done this shit before in my life. Coco snapped his fingers towards Drifton. As he followed his stride, he walked over to a rucksack, hauling it back over to where Coco stood. I was just fucking with you. Pardon my crude sense of humor. Drifton has some that were properly packed by those more experienced, he smiled. The sigh of everyone's relief flowed into the air all at once. In the midst of trying on our containers, Drift helped Coco hand out everyone's jumpsuits. I suggest you all tie your sneakers tightly, Drift mentioned. The anxiousness rose in my stomach, sending extreme butterflies through like a freight train. I knelt down beside Sky while she was busy fastening her jumpsuit. I pressed my knee into the toe of her shoe, ensuring that her laces were secured tightly. Tucking the bottom of her pant legs into her black high tops, I ran both hands gently up the back of her calves. Sky looked down, sensing the worry imprisoned in my eyes. How she always knew what I felt without even having to ask was definitely a gift. Rubbing my face with reassurance, I rose to my feet, letting Sky secure the straps tightly to my body. If for whatever reason you get up there and you happen to lose consciousness or become distracted, your automatic activation device will release you and your reserve chute at about 750 feet from the ground. It's built to track your altitude at all times. Please be aware that you're going 13,000 feet up and are falling approximately at 120 miles per hour. I felt the dryness of my mouth in the attempt to swallow my heart back down my throat. Coco had us gear up with our helmets and glasses and then led us out onto the runway. Yelling our instructions over the roaring of the plane's engine, he motioned for us to board. My legs shook their way up the steps, causing my level of nervousness to rise. Coco poked his head in, exchanging words with the pilot. Have a safe jump, and I'll see you guys back on the ground. I was shocked that Coco let Tiffany jump, seeing as how she was currently in her 3rd trimester. He left the decision up in her discretion, and she definitely went for it. Sky clutched my hand during takeoff, excitement illuminated from her being as she watched us leave the ground. I took in deep breaths, trying to relax before I passed out without even jumping. Climbing through the atmosphere, we reached our appointed altitude. The pilot instructed us to prepare for jump as we flew over our landing site. Trent wanted to go first, so we let him. See you at the bottom, brother. He took off doing a backflip into the air. My eyes enlarged, witnessing his lunatic decision. Tiffany jumped right after, crossing her arms over her chest, looking like some king tut of some sort. I took another deep inhale as Sky positioned herself on the edge of the cabin's opening. Sky, my voice shook. Her brows drew together. Malice, it's okay. Just fall and let that tainted soul of yours fly. She smiled seductively. I grabbed her wrist, halting her. Wait! I paused. I love you. Sky's lips parted as her gaze intensified. What? I said, I love you. I know. I just wanted to hear it again. She smiled warmly. I do very much, and I'm sorry for never saying it back. Shh. Sky pulled me into her, looking me directly in the eyes. If you love me, then let go of your fears and just fall. Instantly, Sky fell back, free-falling through her version of a celestial. I pried my own fingers from the door frame, leaping into the air. The world below was approaching quickly, but I slowed my thought process to enjoy every second that I had. I yelled and laughed to myself the whole way down, feeling like a falcon rapidly descending, letting the air flow freely between my wings. I felt so alive, with adrenaline pumping through my veins. No drug could ever substitute what I felt as I tore through the atmosphere at 120 miles per hour. Releasing the chute, it gave a tight tug to my groin, sending my balls into my stomach. I gripped my steering cable, stretching my feet out below, preparing myself for a bumpy landing. Sky stood by waiting with her chute tucked under her arm. My body bounced once my feet touched, forcing me to pedal to refrain from eating dirt. The pain from the recent sprain to the ankle shot its way up my leg, and I became completely planted to the environment, nearly falling over. Malice, are you alright? Sky asked, running to my aid. My ankle still hurts like a bitch, I winced. Let me help you. As Sky threw her arm around my waist for assistance, I paused. That's what it felt like. Sky's face became quizzical. But what felt like? Falling in love with you. That's what it felt like, I pointed up. Jesus, Malice. You are a man bearing a silver tongue, she replied, kissing my neck. Letting me compensate my weight on her, Sky assisted me back to the hangar. Beneath the shade of the building, I rested on a metal fold-up chair inside. Coco greeted us, asking that we all fold our parachutes the way that we were taught. What happened to you, Malice? Now is your chance to go speak with him about the other day, Sky whispered. What I have to say needs to be only discussed in a more secure location, I informed. Well, let's get out of those ridiculous jumpsuits, and I will be more than happy to lend an audible ear. I folded everything neatly, leaving it on the table designated for jumping equipment. Coco left the others to take their leave while escorting Skynet back to his room. I could see the anxiety ticking beneath the surface of his skin, making his jugular pulsate. Behind the doors of his office, he offered us a drink before we got started. I gestured for him to fill my glass to the rim. Taking the entire glass of scotch, I slammed it onto his desk with a growl, wanting another. His expression was rather impressed by my actions. I feel as though what you're about to inform me is rather disturbing. The other day, I began, Sky and I went downtown to grab a bite to eat and just merely enjoy the day of silence, and I became skeptical of some man that was seated a few tables away. And this man was constantly watching us until deciding to leave upon a brash collision. Not only did he wait for us, but he followed us, nearly killing us both by gunshot. After, cornering us in the bathroom, he explained his reason for following us only after I pressed my fucking gun to his face. Coco's lips trembled as he began for further detail. What did the man look like? Before or after I fucked his face up? My smile pulled at the corner of my mouth. Seriously, his jaw tightened. I sat for several minutes describing every physical characteristic that I could even remember. Eventually, horror filled Coco's eyes as he put two and two together. Dimitri? He said Dimitri after you? He paused for a moment, lost in his own thoughts. Did he say what for? Because you tried killing Juniper and sent me to be your fucking attack dog, I bit out. Did he say what it was that he wanted? Malice, I need you to be quite certain. My fucking knowledge. To where your son is located. Coco's nose crinkled like that of an angry wolf baring his chops. That fucking bastard. I didn't think my life would be at a constant peril. and that I'd always have to watch my back while sleeping with one eye open. Coco slammed his hands down onto the desk, causing Sky to squeak. Did you honestly think this was going to be easy, Malice? I thought you were well aware of the hazardous risk this job applied. I was wrong for not explaining to you my plot for revenge against the depraved waste of sperm. But I knew that you might have declined if I had explained beyond apparent reason. Would you really have given me a choice otherwise? I kept my eyes. Malice, I'm beginning to care for you as if you were my own son. You betray, many of Colton's aspects, and I would never let your death be without severe consequence to follow. You vowed to help me if I helped you. I never said that it didn't have its flaws too. I dropped my head in dismay. Apologies. But how is it that you're helping me? Because I have so much money and power over authority, not only here but in Jersey as well, that I can make your little problem disappear. I've invested a lot to where Colton's protection lies, and I do the same for you, but there's a cost. I said with annoyance. Isn't there always? You all have done everything I've ever asked of you, and I'm greatly appreciative of that. What I'm about to ask you to do is something I expect, no answer offhand. Just keep in mind, the key to your freedom is only granted through an accomplished objective. I held my glass out to toast in acceptance because I already knew what it was he wanted me to do, and that was to kill the son of a bitch. From that moment on, my mindset had changed to a darker, more ruthless persona. I felt as though Sky's changed as well considering the circumstances at hand. She's my other half, chemically bound to me through emotion beyond explanation. Coco explicated our discussion about how it needed to be done, sparing no gruesome detail. It wasn't like coaxing Charlie and his dumbass birds down to the train station either. This was more explicit and complex, forcing me to feel absolutely no remorse. I had to consider Juniper's murder as nothing more than a job well done. I had to look at him like I used to look at my own father. How else could I look at a man in the eyes and forever be content with taking his life? We all had a long span of training before us. To have an upper hand, Coco offered to have assistance from Keith and Javan. Who else greater to protect us than the almighty Javan? Coco had to be sure to keep his most valued assassin under close watch, for I was worth the equality of his own blood. Supposedly there was a house Juniper vacations at every year around this time that was located up in Marquette. He had a private piece of land that sat mountainside, facing the ocean. Coco was pretty good about keeping surveillance on the area. And after dismissing us, Sky and I rode back home in silence. Drift was sitting in the living room with Trent and Tiffany drinking wine and bullshitting. Wow, glad to see you two are still alive. Here, this is for you. Drift held out a Cuban cigar with a congratulatory smile. Thanks. As much as I love to sit here and celebrate, I'm gonna go take a hot bath instead. I just need to relax and meditate. Oh, I know what he means. You need to stroke off some stress, Trent joked. I shook my head, laughing while accepting the fresh tobacco. Sky kissed me before pouring herself a glass to join them. I made my way to the bathroom, starting the water flow. And looking into the mirror, I ran my fingers through my beard, deciding that I needed to trim it down to just stubble. Peeling my shirt off, I proudly rubbed my chest, admiring its broadness. I've come a long way from how I looked a few months back. Maybe that's why I've been so sedate rather than exultant lately. The fogging of the mirror drew my attention back to the steamy water that awaited me. I grabbed a lighter from the nightstand before entering the tub. The fervent water scalded my body before relaxing me as I eased my way down to sit. I ran my hands under the water, bringing them up to wet my hair. Staring at my transmute reflection, I saw the same darkness in me that others had foreseen to eventually reveal itself years ago. I promised myself that I would never be like my father, and the sad truth is I became much worse. I resemble a fiend with a damned soul, yet the only reason my heart never ceases to beat is in all favor to that blue-eyed angel standing in the doorway. I took in a breath, lighting my cigar while Sky leaned against the glass door, observing. Holding out her glass of wine for me to take, I watched her pull her shirt over her head. Slowly unbuttoning her shorts, never leaving my eyes, Sky advanced to performing a little striptease. I put the glass of wine to my lips, licking the residue from the corners of my mouth. As my stare became acute, Sky ran her hands up and down, caressing her body before reaching behind to unsnap her bra. Two perfectly round breasts came into view, exciting me more as she gently shut her eyes, beginning self-pleasure. Massaging herself tenderly as her faint moans rang in my ears, my muscles hardened, longing for her to touch me. Crouching down, Sky ran her hands through her hair, pulling it up just to let it fall back slowly into place. Rested on her knees, she pulled her shorts down, only far enough to reveal the dark satin beneath. Inhaling slowly, smoke escaped my nostrils like a riled-up bull as Sky provoked my sex drive. I watched closely as her hand made its way lower, causing frivolous satisfaction to display in her expression. Her body convulsed to sensitivity as she drew in air through her teeth. Oh my God, Malice. This is how I feel every time you touch me, she sighed. The ache in my face caused from severe jaw clenching had me all but tearing Sky apart. I was forced to sit and watch it, and I was privileged being able to just devour her with my eyes. Standing to her feet, Sky dropped her bottoms and climbed into the tub, lying in between my legs. I stroked her as it lay against my chest, heaving beneath with excitement. Malice, can I be completely honest with you? Of course. I am so scared of what's to come. I'm always by your side without a doubt. It's just a struggle to push my emotions aside, pretending like we live a normal life. I sighed, trying to come up with a response, but all I could think about was how fearful I stood myself. I couldn't foresee the future or its consequences, and it angered me. Sky, no matter what, I won't let a damn thing happen to you. Even if it takes my last breath, I will always put your life before my own. You're all I need. And maybe I was fucking selfish to involve you in my chaos. How does that make you selfish? I went with you willingly. And what about your friends? Listen, when you lose both parents to tragic events, it takes a toll on you. And after that, things affect you differently. I don't think how I once did, and I don't feel the same way either. I don't even act the same. And shit happens unexpectedly, and it forever changes you. It just took time for me to finally accept that. I have your heart, and you have mine. In which, that's all that matters. Sky osculated against my hand, pressing her lips firmly into my flesh, warming me inside with reverence. I know I'd give anything and everything that I had for her. And it amazed me that she knew it too. Being with Sky has changed me, maybe even matured me. And it's funny how it is easily forgotten how a single woman can make a man out of you. Or it reaches further insanity is that Sky never tried. Okay, guys. This is the end of chapter 10, and it will continue into chapter 11, titled Triquetra. Breezing through this book pretty quickly, so I appreciate you guys hanging on there with me. That means a lot to me, and like I said, I'm having a lot of fun and enjoying doing this for you guys. So I'm hoping that you're enjoying it as well. So give me some feedback if you guys have any. I'm all ears. Stay tuned.